Yep, time to focus on science now for just a moment. And of course, we go beyond the final frontier, but also look down towards our own blue planet. Now, plants and animals depend on Earth's daily cycle of light and dark rhythm to govern life-sustaining behaviors such as reproduction, nourishment, sleep, and then, of course, protection from predators. Now, scientific evidence suggests that artificial light at night has negative and, in some cases, even deadly effects on many creatures, including amphibians, birds, mammals, insects, and then a range of plant species. Well, this World Wildlife Day, we are going to hone in on the effects of this kind of pollution and the role that astronomy can play in limiting the damage. And of course, joining us to break it all down is our science engagement astronomer, Dr. Daniel Cunnama, ready to save the planet this time, our planet. Normally we focused on other planetary bodies. Today, it's about our little blue planet. So this is quite interesting to me because I doubt many people have thought about the negative effects of light and that light can actually be pollution. So how does light pollution affect our environment?
Yeah, so for astronomers, light pollution is a major problem already. When we're trying to do observations, we want the darkest place possible, and even just for the enjoyment of the night skies. If you're in a big city, you'll notice you don't get to see a lot of stars, and I mean that in itself as humans is very sad. Mm-hmm. But in terms of the light pollution in animals, as you mentioned, and not just animals, humans, I mean, we are animals, we also rely on these diurnal cycles. People who struggle to sleep, myself included, you try and cut out blue light or screen time after a certain time because it messes with your sleep patterns. And we know that this is the case for animals too, particularly in urban areas. And then also plants. Some years ago, there were lights on Table Mountain in the evening to light up Table Mountain, and environmentally we realized that really wasn't a good idea in terms of the plants sitting on the mountain and the indigenous fynbos. So, all of these things are relying on the day and night cycles, which have been established for over billions of years. That's how life has evolved. It's evolved with these cycles, and now for us to mess with those cycles over the course of less than 100 years or around 100 years, it's really quite drastic.
Messing with the rhythm, man. It's our rhythm. For astronomers, obviously, satellites also provide a source of pollution, if you will. And the International Astronomical Union has now launched a new organization to help preserve dark skies. Can you tell us a bit more about what that actually involves and how they're going about that?
Yeah, so there's various things which concern us as astronomers. Obviously, the most current one and most easily understood is just actual light pollution. So we have all of our telescopes up in Sutherland and the Northern Cape, and you can see here flying over the Earth what light pollution looks like.
Wow.
From space. But so we want to get away from this light as far as possible. You want to get into one of those dark spots where the sky isn't lit up with artificial lights, and there you can do the best astronomy. But then, as you mentioned, satellites now, things which are going overhead, are also a major problem. They do reflect light. We can see them in the early evening when they're reflecting the sun. But even in the darker night, our telescopes are sensitive enough to pick up that light, and it affects our observations. We get these streaks of light going across our images, which makes astronomy very, very difficult. And in South Africa, we are currently sort of developing a strategy for maintaining these dark skies, particularly in dark places which are already dark, and to try and grow astrotourism. We have an incredible resource here in South Africa, and we have very dark skies. We're very fortunate in that respect, and we need to try and maintain that rather than leave it too late.
How do we put this in perspective in terms of the long-term goal? I love the fact that going green now is no longer a nice notion or a nice to have. It's becoming a must-have because I think everyone's getting real and understanding that we've got to do this, and we've pretty much got to do it now. Does light pollution fit into that same kind of idea in terms of we need to start planning in the future to create more of these dark spots, as you call them? How do we, in the long term, manage light pollution now that we've identified identified that it can have quite a serious effect and certainly within the natural space.
It can be fairly straightforward. So cities like Toronto, for example, has really set the standard for this. And what they do is, you just saw those light posts outside, and those light posts are they're pointing up, and again, they're pointing up into the sky. And if you're worried about security or sort of seeing your way down a flight of stairs outside, you don't actually need the light to be going vertically. You just need it to be shining down. So again, you just need the lights to be shaded so that they don't throw light up into the air, just pointing down. There are other things you can do. Later in the night, you can dim the lights even further because there are fewer people around and it is darker, so you can see better. Or even turning off lights entirely, in places where there aren't people from, say, midnight to 4 a.m. And in all those ways, the standards can be set. So for a city, we can say, any new street light from now on needs to have this shade, so it doesn't throw light up. And over the course of 10 or 20 years, we can transition to a much darker sky.
I love it. We can see more and do more with that information. Dr. Dan, thank you so much. You can turn your lights off right now, my friend, and crawl back into bed before you go to work today. We love you, Guy. Thank you so much for breaking it down for us. Really, really interesting stuff, and certainly worth talking about and thinking about moving into the future. That was our science astronomer and engagement officer, the one and only Dr. Daniel Cunnama. Have a wonderful day, my friend.
Thank you, you too. Cheers, sir.
Oh, definitely worth thinking about. We love our beautiful starry sky. We want to see it as best as we possibly can. So as we think about our planet, think about its rhythm as well and what we can do in the long term.